are oppressed. We are exploited. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
How great I am.
If you're some man of the rock,
You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else.
Let us sing forever. Let us play forever.
Wake your ass up. Awaken the beast inside.
This is the realest podcast in the world. We are your hosts, Osama,
Mohammed.
and let's get this started. It's episode 97. For everybody that's talking trash, bun yourselves. Let me tell you something. We are consistent. We're bringing big moves. We're getting close to episode 100. But today does not stop us because today is our third episode for Black History Month. Mohammed's going to give you a beautiful explanation of what we're talking about today, what the premise of the episode is. So, bro, bring it on.
Thank you, Osama, for the introduction. Once again, thank you to everyone subscribing and being supporters, especially with the Black History Month initiative. We're thankful. Episode 1, let's talk about the color of my skin. What do you see me as? So it's talking about the issues pertaining around race and just race equality overall. Episode 2 was about Black Civil War, internal wars. Knowing that Black History Month is a month of celebration, acknowledgement, and looking back at those who gave the steps for us to move towards, right? But at the same time, there is an element, a shadowy element, that has also contributed to the division amongst us since the dawn. And I talked about that during the Black Civil War episode. This episode is entitled When the Sun Was Accompanied by the Moon. And this is just a homecoming episode. Very easy, very relaxing, very thoughtful. And it's just one of those episodes where you're just going to relax and contemplate as we take you along this journey. So when the sun was accompanied by the moon, we are excited to bring you guys this episode.
Do you want to explain that to people? Because some people may not know when the sun is, what does that mean? So you want to give a little explanation?
No explanation required.
Damn, bro. Listen.
I'll get, but to give you an idea, because obviously there's an idea behind it. The first thing I want to say is an African proverb, all right? This African proverb says, sunshine always follows a dark night.
Why did you smile?
Because it's amazing. Osama, sunshine always follows a dark night. What do you think that means?
Sunshine always follows a dark night. Well, when I think of dark night, I think of a warrior. I think of someone who's like leading, right? And then I think of like the sun. The sun is always shining on people who are strong and like who are powerful. There's a little picture that you see. There's two lanes. There's one person going on one lane and there's millions of people going on another lane. So when you say that African proverb, to me it seems like this dark night has a purpose. Again, sounds cliche, but he has a purpose in terms of what he wants to do. And man is like, the sun is watching every single move to almost show society, this is the example that you have to live by. Not sure if I'm close, but this is how I kind of received the message.
And yeah, that's a beautiful thing about interpretations, right? There's obviously different ideas and different decipherings upon a message, right? So for me, when I see something like that, like sunshine always follows a dark night, I think it just means like, no matter what happens and what you go through, because to make it comparable, when you go through tough times, as far as afflictions, trials and tribulations, hardship, you equate it to darkness, right? Equate it to darkness and just being under dark clouds and dark settings. The sunshine is that light, is that thing that's going to bring you to the next point, past the hardship, past the affliction, past the trial and tribulation, to a point of ease, comfortability, and just being at certainty that things will move on and things get better. So that sunshine is that goodness, is that optimism, is that forth of light that's going to bring you to where you want to go the whole time. So sunshine always follows a dark night, meaning that no matter how dark things are, small, bigger, or large, things will get better. The sun is always going to shine. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be your friend at the end of the day. All you have to do is have that trust. And when you do that, things only get better. Things will only get better, Osama. And the cool thing about that, the next thing I want to say is another African proverb. The light of 1,000 stars doesn't equal the light of the moon.
The light of 1,000 stars doesn't equal the light of the moon.
Yeah. What do you think that means?
Well, there's also, it's funny, that's definitely an old African proverb because definitely the white culture got it where it's like reach for the stars, but if you miss, land in the moon. And to me, when someone says, like, again, like if someone says, oh, your face bright as shiny as the stars, it's just that means like you're like notice this is a dumb example, mind you, a little bit in like more pop culture. But you don't say this person's a moon star. You say this person's a superstar. So the word star beside it exemplifies what you're trying to say is like he's magnificent. This person's amazing, powerful, whatever it might be. Yes, the bright of stars because back in the day, people would look at the stars for directions or whatever to see like years back. But to me, I just think that the moon is not as bright. The moon is a reflection off the sun. The star just his own light. The star just like I don't know, like to me, I'm just rambling on, but to me, I understand it from my standpoint, like just from pop culture standpoint, that stars is what you want to be. Yes, you can be the moon, but your aim should always be the stars.
And yeah, for me, when I think about the light of 1,000 stars, doesn't equal the light of the moon. It's like, imagine the stars is such a beautiful concept and beautiful sight, especially when you're under dark settings. If you're deep in the forest, deep on a beach, when you look up and you see the stars, just beautiful stars all around you, it creates such a scenic atmosphere, right? Just looking up and you see this horizon of different lights, small, medium, and large. It gives you such a beautiful feeling as human beings, right? And obviously it gives beautiful connections as far as the people you're with, and also creates beautiful memories that should live on as long as you live, right?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Those two African proverbs you said, right? Keep this in mind because I'm going to say my question. The first time you went to Ghana was 2019, right? Where you're from, Africa, beautiful country, obviously beautiful continent. This is a dumb question, but I think the people should know. Do those African proverbs live up to reality when you went to Ghana as opposed to what you see here within the Black community?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. And I guess it makes sense to finish off that proverb of the light of 1,000 stars doesn't equal the light of the moon. When I was in Ghana and I went home and saw the family for the first time, the stars at night is incredible. What a sight to behold. But the light of the moon is something overbearing. It's beyond your own comprehension. We romanticize, obviously, the love that we have for the sun and the moon and the stars, and you try your best. And poets and writers, philosophers have done the best of interpretations and the best of explanations and the best of soliloquies, trying to give the value and the significance of such beautiful concepts. But at the end of the day, the human experience that you go through within yourself is way more powerful than what's written on paper, because it's just a feeling that you just can't get enough of. And also it's a feeling that's limited because it doesn't go on forever, because not everyone's given the opportunity to be under such beautiful settings every single day. Obviously, most times you'll see that is when you travel or go on vacation. So it's a once in a million lifetime kind of circumstance. So knowing that, you hold it close to your heart because it's so meaningful. It's so benevolent. And when I was in Ghana, one thing we used to do was we used to sit down on chairs and we used to talk into the night, and the whole community be outside. And the beautiful thing is, as you're talking from the afternoon into the sunset, the sky will start to change. It'll go from being blue into kind of a little bit orange, and it'll turn into like a purple kind of color. As the night came, it wasn't dark. It has like a purple atmosphere to it. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's amazing. And when you see the moon in its full sight, in its full power, you gain clarity. You gain insight. I think that proverb speaks to when you see 1,000 stars, there's so much different questions you might have as far as what is and what is not. But when you see the moon in its power, in its light, in its full glory, you have that definitive answer as what you're looking for, what you're seeking after, and just that understanding that you are given with that interaction with something that we don't see all the time. The moon only comes out at night. It doesn't come out during the day. So you have to wait until the night for such a beautiful setting. You have to embrace yourself for such a beautiful obstacle. You have to build yourself up for a memory that can really transform your being to becoming a better person. So understanding that, that's why the moon is so beloved, and why the light of the moon is so magnificent, and why what you gain from the moon, as far as contemplating, reflecting, sharing, and learning, only makes you grow. And that's the goal, right?
Well, you mentioned learning, which is, I guess, a key thing about our podcast. Here's the thing. There's a lot of misconceptions that people have about certain stuff. Are there misconceptions you hear? Here's the thing. Before you went to Africa, before you went to Ghana, there was definitely a lot of misconceptions you probably heard of, or you thought of. But when you went there, right? What misconception that people have that you're like, I can defeat this misconception within seconds? Like, this does not exist.
Yeah, the number one misconception about Africa is that it's less than, because of the status, the ranks, the economy, and whatever worldly ties you want to equate it to. The fact that it might not be as high on numbers, it might not be as high in status, it might not be as high as far as significance, it's less than. So meaning that it has no power, no beauty, and no sight to behold. So what you see instead is imaging of a perception of what you think Africa is, and really, in reality, it's far from the truth. So when you see Africans looking as if they live under rocks, poor, muddy, no knowledge, wisdom, understanding, intellect, IQ, sense of living in the new world, it's far from the truth. When you go there and you meet the people and you touch the people and you connect with the people, you understand that the environment that everyone lives in Africa is something that is not existent in the West. Obviously, it's two different realities, two different spectrums, and two different ways of life. Doesn't mean that the way of life that we live here is way better than those on the other side. Because if you go there, one thing you do learn that I know for a fact does not happen here is the power of the community. You learn the value in the power of the community. Everyone looks out for one another. When they say that it takes a village to raise a child, there is no greater place in the world to see that other than Africa. Because a person grows up, a kid grows up learning lessons. When I mean lessons that can be combined into a 50-page volume book daily on what to do in life, in different aspects in various fields on a daily basis, and from every kind of person you can think of. Different personalities, different kinds of intellect, different kinds of fields of studies and disciplines, and the way they get things done is a reason why Africans are so well versed and so traversed and so well, eloquent as well, because they experience things at a much higher pace. They're able to adapt it and bring forth their understanding in a way that we are only able to, be left astounded as to how people could live such a life, and still it doesn't mean anything because it's only a small significance as to oppose the big picture.
It's funny because a lot of, like, everything you just said, for me, I obviously know everything you just said. There's a lot of people out there who, when they think of Africa, they think of lions, like they're ignorant minds. They think there's nothing there at all, right? Because when they show Africa, they show like the parts where like the wild animals are, right? But I remember, for me personally, when you went down there, you were FaceTiming me, where like you showed me like where your family lives. Sometimes you would show me on walks. You would like point out like this place and that place, and like you would describe like what happens there. For a lot of people that don't know, the first quote, repeat the first quote you said to me, the first African proverb.
The first African proverb is, sunshine always follows a dark night.
Great. So sunshine always follows a dark night. I look at Africa as the dark night. Why? Because there's so many natural resources that come from Africa that the other countries are now the sunlight. They just want the resources from Africa. Yet when you ask yourself this question, you guys talk so bad about certain countries where you're stealing their resources, yet you have misconceptions about the country. So how does, in my head, like, how does that play out? It's a lack of understanding from Western society because they think that, oh, this is our natural resources. No, it's not. It is not. Like, certain fruits and vegetables have to come from down there, right? And by the way, sometimes by the time it gets here, it's like they put so much drugs into it because they want to make it taste sweet. But when you go down there, it's a whole different lifestyle. It's like more family, as you said, more family oriented. I like how you said it takes a village to raise a child. There's so many natural traditions. Yes, I'm not African, but like I'm from Middle Eastern. But when you look at specifically about Africa, there's so much culture differences that a lot of people here don't understand. But yet you pick and choose what to take. But yet you're not giving credit to the continent that gave you this opportunity to showcase their culture. And yeah, so like again, a lot of people are gonna be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Listen, bro, go back and hear it again in reverse. Go back and hear it again properly. That first proverb Muhammad said, the sunlight follows the dark night. Africa is the dark night, and everybody wants its natural resources. Everybody wants to steal from it, yet no one's giving it the credit. And the sunlight he's a proper thing about it. Everybody that does know and is educated enough that can pinpoint is appreciative of the fact that there's people down there who are working for their family, mind you, to give you a better life. So funny enough, Africa is the sunlight and the dark night, double entendre, but we're the ones that are just following the fact that we're stealing everybody else's resources because we can't work for ourselves. I had to go off a bit of a rant there.
Of course. It's ways, after all, right?
I don't know, bro. Like, it's just, I just hate stupid people. And that's it. And I believe that, yes, like there's jokes you can certainly make, which are, again, amongst your friends. Don't make jokes people you don't know. But I believe the truth has to be told. Like you say so much stuff to people on ways, and you're like, specifically about Black Lives Matter. I hope people are taking this information in because what you're saying is raw and truth. And people who are listening to me, I am black. I'm not saying it because Muhammad's here. Like I say the same stuff I do on camera and off camera. So that's what reality is, bro.
And yeah, that's why conversations like this is important, it's crucial, and it only continues the necessary things that we need to do as humans to make sure that there's no sense of secrecy, confusion amongst our part as far as culture, race, ethnicities, because, you know, we have differences. Everyone has differences. Even Africans amongst themselves have differences through the forms of government, society, and tribes. But conversations can happen. Conversations can be applicable to solve these differences so people can live in peace, harmony, and understanding.
So I have a question for you.
Yep.
Another question. I want to go into more details about Africa, the motherland. Obviously, Africa is known for different things, right? I want you to give the people a sense of like different countries, what they're known for, what they've done. Ghana, Nigeria. You have Nigeria. You obviously have Somalia. I want you to give the people like what, like obviously there's like generic stuff, but I want you to go in and talk about Africa and things that people probably don't know and that they've never heard of.
Beautiful question. To give you the answer, I must give you another African proverb. The sun shines during the day, not at night. The sun shines during the day, not at night. So when I talk about these different countries and what they do and how the people coexist and how they behave and what they're made out of, is not to say that one is better than the other. It's not to say that these groups of people are less meaningful than their counterparts or have no sense of understanding or ideals. No, the sun shines during the day, not at night. So therefore, wherever the sun is amongst the group of people, let them live as they are, and they've been doing it for thousands of years, and we appreciate them for who they are. So, once again, the sun shines during the day, not at night. Do not confuse it. Do not create problems, instances of fight amongst tribes, fights amongst religions, fights amongst different political parties. Enough is enough. Okay? The sun shines during the day. So let it be shining amongst all of us, as it should. Right, Osama?
Say that quote again, because I'm gonna say something powerful right now.
The African proverb says, the sun shines during the day, not at night.
Now people are gonna think that they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's obvious," but when you actually break it down, and I see you smiling, but I'm gonna call these idiots out. And the reason why I have so much aggression right now is because it's snowing outside, and I'm gonna take this aggression out on this podcast. When he says when Muhammad says it shines in the day, not at night. No, sorry, what did you say? Shines in the day, not at night?
Yes, the sun shines during the day, not at night.
Okay. Dude, there's so many ways to look at that. Like, to me, in the day is a time where you have to grind and you have to work. Now, I'm going to share a personal story. When you went to Ghana, you would show me your family members and extended family, how hard working they are. Dude, first of all, you guys think the labor that we do is this? No. I remember there's a lot of wild animals in Africa. You don't know? Go educate yourself, you idiot. But you were showing me a video how he was holding a poisonous scorpion in his own hands. There is self-education in the day, and that goes by a few proverbs you just mentioned. One, a village raises a child. So they have to find out how, they have to know how to live, how to take care of a family at a really, 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 really young age. They take all these African proverbs, and that's their education, by the way. That is their education, to make themselves aware of what they have to do to wake up. They have a schedule. They're disciplined. So when you say that African proverb, yeah, it makes sense. They're working, and by the time it's nighttime, they're spending their time with their families. Funny enough, it's the opposite here. People want to chill all day in the morning, and then they want to go do whatever it is at night, which is not beneficial to them. But I think that there's a lot of life lessons people can learn from African families, and maybe one day we're able to get some of these people on and for them to speak about experiences that I guarantee 90% of people around the world have not experienced. I think that proverb basically means it's time to work in the morning and it's time to relax at night. I believe that proverb can also mean that work never dies out. It kind of depends on the perspective that you look at. It depends on how you kind of think. But for me, obviously, my brain is like a computer, and I guess I think differently, and I have more than one thought. But I just feel there's at least for me, there's when I look at that, there's time to work, 16 hours into work in the day, and then the time is night. You chill with your family. You're settling down. You're ensuring that your family is safe. Because yes, the sun doesn't shine at night, but to go back to the other proverb about the stars shining more than 1,000 stars shining more than the moon, when the stars are once you see the stars and the moon shining, it's time to go home, sit in your family, and make their faces shine. Make sure there's food on the table, and allow them to breathe and eat and sleep.
And to answer your question about different African countries and what they are and how they provide and the significance of every country, I cannot give you a single answer that will sum up the value of every African country, but what I can give you is some examples of different figures represented in some countries, and for the listeners to please go and watch a documentary, go read a book, go watch a YouTube video, go and ask questions from those who possibly might know of these individuals and what made them so great and made their country shine during the day, not at night. Are you ready?
We're always ready.
So the first country we can go with is Ghana.
Known for the best jollof.
Maybe I should go with Ghana last.
No. Go with it first.
Right? But
Ghana has the best jollof.
I'm not trying to hear the start any beef. The sun shines during the day, not at night. So whatever Ghana
has the best jollof
in Ghana, Nigeria.
Listen, don't listen. I'll expose you right now. Ghana has the best jollof. Continue.
It's Osama's words, not mine. But either way,
this guy's not going to get canceled.
First, I'll go with Ghana.
Yeah.
Ghana is my background, where I'm from. Beautiful country. Been there once. I wish I could be there every single day. But until then, since I'm not there, the thing I try to do the best is learn about the history, the people, the origins, And obviously, speaking to those with family, try to digest as much as I can about the experience that they go through, the conditions that they're under, so I can understand my power, my privilege, my gratitude towards the people that brought me here. Obviously, it's my parents, and to understand that it's a long road and it's a mission as far as trying to connect the two worlds. Ghana, Black Stars, soccer, known for the Black Stars, right? That's the symbol. Besides that, Ghana is the first independent country in Africa, the first independent African country. Kwame Nkrumah was the first president, author, thinker, philosopher, president, great mind. His words about Africa, his vision of making Africa, the United States, combined together, sharing the resources and the wealth and the power of information. No secrecy, no divisions, even though we have borders, whether physical or mentality wise, we must come together so we could actually create that dominance that we should be displaying in the first place. Because with a continent having so much wealth and resources that so much people extract from us daily, as of now, and we do not give any of that towards our people, his vision and what he had back in the 1950s and 60s, if it had lived out and became true, maybe that question you asked me about the misconceptions about Africa would not even be a thought in your mind.
For
It
sure.
actually might have been reversed. What do we think about the United States of America? Or what do we think about Europe? But you know what? It is what it is. We let it be. But things are temporary, not forever. So Ghana, that's what Ghana is known for.
Can I ask you a question? This is going to be like controversial. I don't want to be insensitive, but I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I'm going to explain why I'm saying this, and I'm going to ask you the question. Actually, I'm going to ask you the question, and I'll explain why I'm saying this. Do you think there should be a Black History Month? Because in Africa, predominantly Black, I'm assuming there's no such thing. Because, like, they already know their victory. To me, why I'm asking that is because Black people should be appreciative 24/7 for name anybody right now, they're gonna know them because they're spoken about them 24/7. So do you experience in Africa for almost the 2 months that you were there to now, if you were the Prime Minister of Canada, would you say there's no longer a Black history and we're gonna be appreciative of like every culture 24/7 of the year? Or do you think having a Black History Month takes away from Black people because it's the shortest month in the year? So what are your thoughts on that?
To answer your question, I'm going to give you another African proverb. You ready?
Always, bro.
I pointed out the stars and moon to you, but all you saw was the tip of my finger.
Damn, that's a tough one.
That's the answer. So pretty much, I pointed out the stars and moon to you, but all you saw was the tip of my finger. And that's pretty much how it is in modern society. Forget Africa. I could point out the answer to you. The stars and moon is direct. Look and see for the truth. Everything you have as far as questions, misconceptions, and assumptions, true or false, it is right there. But you're so busy at staring the tip of my finger that you're missing all of this heavenly glory that's right in front of you. And people who understand, it's also reference to Bruce Lee, because he kind of has a similar proverb as well.
How about you explain for the people who don't understand? So when they're listening, they're like,
Of course.
Give them a small explanation.
Of course. So regarding Black History Month, as we're doing right now, it's a month of celebration, understanding the history that Black people went through, right? But Osama, when we're talking about Black History Month, where do we start from? We talk about from slavery up until now, U.S. history most of the time. We don't acknowledge the African side of the history. We do, but very small. As far as here in the West, because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, a lot of Black figures, historical Black figures in the United States, as well as African Canadians, have not been acknowledged, celebrated, or even talked about in the respective canon, right? As we all know, it's a lot of Black figures that people don't know about. So I understand the stance to celebrate these people and talk about their contributions to our lives. It makes sense. It should continue. But most of the time, it starts from slavery up until present in the West. Sometimes we'll get different reference points to Africa, Europe, also the Caribbean as well, and South America as well, and the islands. But this episode is about Africa because for me, I don't see Africa being talked enough during Black History Month. I don't see it being celebrated enough. On the other side of the world, it might be totally different. It might be the other way around. Black History Month in Africa might be only the talks of different African figures and less about U.S. figures.
To add on to your point, if you go to school right now in Africa, right? Go to grade 1. Just sit down with the grade 1. They're probably learning authentic history. Because these African proverbs you're saying have been said 100 years and 100 years before. It's not a coincidence that your dad probably told you these proverbs. Your grandfather probably told you these proverbs. Their grandparents told you those proverbs. So in your head, you're like, rich history. The problem with our education system is that we're picking and choosing who to speak about, and we're picking and choosing what to leave out. The reason why I asked you that question is because it's funny how Black history is so rich. And by the way, 100 years is not enough. Like, you have to go way, 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 way back. I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years way back. And you're putting it the shortest one. So for me, I celebrate Black people 24/7. Aside from being Muslim and how rich it is within Islam, that's why I asked you that question. Because I only can assume in Africa. I'm not going to talk about the other like Black, populated countries. But Africa itself, the continent, as you said, I believe it's not spoken about as much. And I don't know why. I can only assume that the government has like doesn't want certain information to be let out. But eventually, what is the internet for? To go search. Like, if you're listening by now up to this point, so we're almost half an hour in, every proverb Muhammad said, I want you to go back, write them all down, and go search them up and find the actual meaning. Because there's always quotes here that we use till this day. Oh, my way or the highway, or what goes around comes around, or karma is a bleep. But those are just whitewashed. Those are like the stupid sayings. But the sayings that you say are not also, this is why I call them African proverbs. You're not saying Canadian proverb, just saying a Canadian saying, but because they have deeper meanings. They have deeper meanings. The last quote you're talking about, to insinuate and talk more about it, people only point on what you're pointing at, but they're not looking at the bigger picture. Like, I'm trying to give you the answers in the world, but you're not looking at that. And for me, if I was the Prime Minister of Canada, bro, first of all, it would be a mandatory thing to allow people to learn the authentic history of what actually happened, and bring people, like, rather than having a teacher who knows nothing about, bring someone and pay them, say, hey, for the month that you guys are here, for the duration of time, I'm going to let you control the content that is being set out. Because people have to understand, like, a lot of your, like, again, I'm going to talk about pop culture for all the young youths. A lot of the guys you probably listen to are probably African, but they don't say it because, again, I'm not sure as to why, but go read their Wikipedia page. They're probably African from like a country, like, good example. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. Half of his dad, I forget where he's from, but half of his dad is from Africa. See, people don't know that. Like, you have to go do your research. It's really important, the fact that these icons that you look up to, these people that you look up to, the stuff that you're eating, the stuff that you're aware of, Africa has a big, huge part.
Yeah, you're right. And I believe Nipsey Hussle, his family is from Eritrea as well. And when it comes to this, especially the educational system, it's like, I don't expect them to teach, obviously, the full history about Africa. And I can't expect that if they're not even talking about the significance of the Harlem Renaissance. Like, a person like Langston Hughes isn't even discussed in English literature, right? So if a person like that, who's so exceptional to the role and has contributed so much to the canon of English, and even him himself is not discussed or even acknowledged, then it's going to be tough to really expect different African figures from an older standard point in history to be discussed as well. And so that's the thing. So even right now, 35 minutes in, as we're discussing all of this, by me giving you the clarity and the answer as best as I can, obviously, as far as what the sun and moon is and the stars, most people are just gonna look towards the tip of my finger. That's just how it is. That's just human nature. That's how we are as people. No one is really gonna take the time to go in to what is necessary as far as the practical steps to try to extract the meanings of a text, of a question, to really give yourself that truth, to build yourself up. Few people are going to do that, even with you yourself. Like, people are going to look at the tip of your finger as opposed to the moon and stars that you constantly tell them, try to show them, present to them in various ways on the day by day basis. That's how things work.
Yeah, but what country do we live in? We live in Canada, right? We live in Canada. Living in Canada for 20 years, being an Arab, living in Canada your whole life. So I don't know why I said 20 years. Living in Canada our whole life, me being Arab, Mohammed being African. When you come from a minority, you understand which is truth and which is a lie. Talk about history within our education system. I'm not saying don't learn about Hitler, the Holocaust, Shakespeare, whatever it is. I can't even remember. I can't go on top of my head. Some of that information is important to an extent to like be aware of what happened in World War or whatever it may be. But now when you go to school, there's more multicultural kids than there's white kids. We're not talking about 2000s when it was like for every like 10 white kids is like one immigrant kid. No, we're talking about like now it's like there's rich history that people have to understand. And look, I keep repeating myself because like, it just triggers me the fact that like people should be aware when you talk about like Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Somalia, Sudan, whatever, like Northern Africa, whatever it may be. Because in a lot, like you have to do your like yeah, like I'm telling you, like you guys are probably only like listening to listen, but go do your research because sometimes I guarantee you, bro, that someone from Africa would rather you ask than assume. Stupid stereotype because don't just listen to the news. Sometimes there's actually a beautiful quote, and I'm at that point by this because I'm getting frustrated. Denzel Washington one time said, if you listen to the news, you're misinformed. If you don't listen to the news, you're not informed. What does misinformed mean? There's some lies happening sometimes. So if you don't watch the news, you're not informed. So by you watching the news, you're going to take what you have and you're going to be like, I have African friends. This sounds BS. I'm going to go do my research. I want to go watch a video of how beautiful the world is. There's more to the world than Canada, America, Europe, which by the way, aren't as beautiful as you think. Because if you think this is beautiful, you can only imagine what other parts of the world is. And that's really it. I think all of his African proverbs that Muhammad said today in the past 40 minutes that we've been speaking, send a light. And Muhammad said it. A lot of you guys through 96 episodes only point up to certain things that we say, but you leave half the stuff that we mentioned. You're like, oh, well, you guys could have spoke about this. Well, here's my assignment for you guys if you're listening up to this point. Go pick a country from Africa that you don't know of and watch a video and learn and see what differences that we have from here to their cultures. Go understand someone's culture. So when next time you speak to someone from that, oh yeah, you know what? I was actually watching a cool video about Kenya the other day. I had no idea it had this.
No, it's true. And that's the thing, like learning about different cultures, about how people work, behave, interact, as far as the social, political, economic framework, definitely gives you an insight to how people live their lives and gives you a deeper understanding and appreciation of the world, knowing that it's bigger than the circle that's around you. Because most of the time we think that the world is shaped by the circle that we live. It's way bigger than that. There's different languages, different foods, different kinds of colors and palettes that people use as far as clothing, as far as materials, as far as even entertainment wise. Like, for instance, Bollywood, the biggest actors sing songs during the movies as if it's a musical, right? Like, they don't do that here. in Western movies. You won't see Brad Pitt or Margaret Robbie singing different songs throughout a movie. No, that doesn't happen, but it happens there, right? So there's different ways of how people live their lives. The more we're more privy to that information, the more thankful we are the fact that we live in a world that's bigger than our circle. And when you do that, life is much more beautiful, as it should be, because to think as if the world should be the way that we live our lives only is very disrespectful and it's untrue because that can never be true. People already have different opinions based on the color of a muffin or what tastes better, Coke or Pepsi. Like people are never going to agree on one universal thing. So knowing that, the least thing that we can do is try to learn from each other by asking questions, creating dialogue, interpreting different languages, texts, and meanings, and understanding the culture that they operate in. And by doing that, we could get a greater sense of how they live their lives. And in exchange, they'll get a greater sense of how we live our lives as well. And that's what the world should be comprised of.
May I share an African proverb? Because, you got me to thinking. And I found one that I like.
Yeah.
It says, if you give bad food to your stomach, it will drum for you to dance. Life dances to the rhythm of your choices. So when you choose not to learn, when you choose not to do anything, that you're making that choice, and that's where you're going to end up. You put nutrients in your body's going to dance a much happier, healthier lifestyle. My meaning by this is this. We cater so much into people, into things, into stuff, which is useless. Legit useless, bro. If you know me personally, I couldn't give a crap if, like, for example, I just found out recently that Kanye West wants to not put his album on streaming services. I don't care. You don't want to do that, by all means, bro. I'm not paying to see your album. But you know what I would care about now at my age right now is if someone back home is doing something extravagant to the point where, wow, he's going to change the world. Just like with this invention. Go on adventurous travels. Like I told Mohammed, I want you to take me to Ghana. Show me the nice parts of Ghana. He's like, yeah, I want to visit where you're from. Like, it's better to visit because I'll tell you one thing. You'll be a better, well-rounded person going to Ghana, Nigeria, Palestine, Turkey, wherever it is. Travel the whole wide world. Because why? You're learning authentic history. There are still people who are hundreds of years old who are still living who they'll sit you down and then you'll be like, yo, if you're saying this and my neighbor says the same thing, this has to be true. And you guys don't know each other because you live in two different parts of the world. Go travel. If I'm telling everybody, since we're opening up now because Corona's like easing down, if you can't travel, go on your metaverse and go visit a country. Go learn what they're known for. Believe me, these celebrities aren't going to do you any good anyways.
The next African proverb I want to say is, if the sun said it had power over the moon, then let it come and shine at night.
If the sun had power over the moon, then let it come shine at night.
If the sun said it had power over the moon, then let it come and shine at night. So this pretty much goes to everything that we're talking about. If those who think that Africa is of nothing, less value, less significant, should it be learned as far as history, its people, its origins, its culture, its lineage, and the reign that is given to other parts of the world from back then up until now, then I ask you, I present to all of you, bring what you have and let's see what you have be as powerful, as more meaningful, as more synonymous, as more contributing to the world in our setting as in yours. Bring forth. Because Egypt is in Africa, correct?
Yes, it is.
Egypt's in Africa. People don't think that. They don't equate it to. But Egypt, ancient Egypt, the civilization, all those stories, all those great historic landmarks, all those sacred knowledge that the world is constantly craving and chasing after forth is where? It's in Africa. That's not a mistake. That was destined. It's fate. It's meant. It's certainty.
You want to know why I love Africa?
Yeah.
2 reasons. 1, my homeland, where I'm from, connects to Africa and Asia, the border. 2, Africa is such a huge continent. It has so many countries, so many ethnicities, so many cultures, so many different tribes, so many different people, so many different views, and all that. And every single, and I guarantee it's millions and millions and millions of proverbs from all of Africa. It's not a coincidence that when you want to go to Egypt, you want to talk about the pharaohs, you take it and then show it to the million and claim it's yours. It's not yours. It's theirs. It's not a coincidence when you want to go find gold, you go to Africa and you take it and you sell it and then you start making Rolexes. Not a coincidence. And then that's theirs. Natural resources, not yours. One day the world's going to wake up and they're going to be like, you got to stop doing that. And I'm telling you, it's not a coincidence that we as the Western society claim things that are ours when they're not. And we're good at burying evidence, telling you on the news that, oh, like this Rolex is made out of, well, where did that gold come from, buddy? Definitely didn't come from here. Definitely didn't come from here.
If we had to build everything from scratch, as people do on the other side of the world, we would be crying out of our eyes. We'd cry so much that the tears would be laughing in our faces. We'd be screaming so much that our voice, barely even having a pitch, would be doing the moonwalk down our esophagus, to the point where we'll be stomping our feet, that our feet will even say, why are you even wasting your time? To the point where girls are pulling out their hair because all that beauty products that they rely on for their face, hair, and everything else, when simply ask the question, did you really think this was real? Did you really think all this was meant for you? No, what you live off of, what you are privy to, is based off the work, suffering, and gratitude on those on the other side. It's much bigger than us. It's much bigger than us. And if we don't understand that, and if we don't give thanks and credence, and we don't take the time to develop and give them their joy and respect that they deserve so humbly, then, like you said, there'll be a time where it only comes back at us full power, full steam. And the only thing we can do is just question ourselves with one simple question. Why? Why didn't we take the time to know when we had everything with us? Why did we wait until the last?
Well, remember this. I guess you could say if you spit in the sky, it's going to fall right back in your face. So stupidity causes ignorance, and it's just either going to attack you, it's going to ruin you. I have no idea. But the question is why? Why? Keep that in mind, everybody.
The last final proverb, I want this to be with everyone and to really keep it close to yourself. You don't have to share with others. If you want to, share with everyone, but try to take this in and figure out what it means to you and how you can apply it in your life. The African proverb goes, if the moon is with you, you need not care about the stars. If the moon is with you, you need not care about the stars. And for me, instantly when I think about this, Osama, if I think about the moon being with me, that light, that clarity, that insight, that big vision, I think about God. And I think about what He's given us as far as the religion and what's prescribed of it, as far as the different sciences and the disciplines and how we can apply it to our lives to be better. I don't need to care about the stars. And the stars, like you said, the superstars, it's actually beautifully said that. The superstars is everything else that's a distraction. The superstars or the stars is everything else that's going to take you away from the clarity and the beauty and the sight of that moon. That's going to control you. That's going to consume you. That's going to make you shine bright as you need to be in your original position. But as soon as you try to jump around from star to star and from different areas and different sects and different ways of life, you only become lost, confused, and just translucent in a way that is not applicable, is not optimal for your own sanity. And that's why the moon is with you. Know what that moon is. So you don't need to care about the stars. You don't need to rely on the stars to find out what you're really here for. That's all I have to say.
Before we end off our episode, I just want to share one quick thing. We haven't spoken about it as much, but we are actually building some wells in Ghana. And I think it's needless to say that if you guys are listening up to this point, please donate. We're trying to get as much as we can before we close off the donation. Clean water is a necessity, ladies and gentlemen. There are people down there, yes, they don't have to drink water. Yeah, you guys are taking the gold and buying Rolexes, so maybe you should like double think your life for one single solitary second. But we do, please go donate $1, $20, share it with your friends.
Share with anyone. And yes, we are doing this project, and we've been doing it for the past few months. Very meaningful, significant to both of us.
Almost a year, actually.
Yeah, for a long time, and it's never going to end. It's not only Africa. The goal is to be around different parts of the world, wherever people need our help and your help as well. It's not only us that's trying to solve the issues, it's different people as well, but it takes the first step of putting the action out there and getting the help collective wise, because we can't do this alone. We need to work together, not opposed as far as views and goals. There's a single mission, getting those in need the right to drink water as easy as possible, as far as routes, so it alleviates their stress, mental stress, physical stress, and spiritual stress. You receive so much of the blessing that is given to you, whether it's direct or indirect, and who doesn't want that? Because if you could do that, you live a life that's beautiful. And I guess to leave this episode, the last proverb I'm going to say is, if you cry because you missed the sun, your tears will not let you see the moon.
Let the people think about it.
Peace.
You guys thought we were done? I don't think so. We still gotta wrap it up. Please follow me at Kusa300. Follow my co-host Mohammed at Mohammed.global. Make sure to follow our page at Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to all our platforms. We drop every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Thank you. We'll see you next week.